You probably think you own your house. You pay the mortgage, lock the doors, and sleep soundly. You are completely wrong. The world of property rights is deeply broken, filled with ridiculous bureaucratic traps designed to leave owners completely helpless. Let us explore the absolute dumbest legal shields that professional trespassers use to live rent-free at your expense. You might want to double-check your locks. 1. 30 days. That is exactly how long it takes for a trespassing criminal to magically become a legally protected tenant in New York City. A stranger sneaks into your vacant property, lays low for a single month, and suddenly law enforcement refuses to touch them. You are left dragging yourself through a civil court process that drains your savings and steals a year of your life. Can you stomach losing control of your own expensive real estate just because you missed checking the security cameras during a short summer trip? 2. Forging a connection with the local utility company is apparently all it takes to steal a house in several states. A trespasser breaks the lock, calls the water or gas provider, and puts the bill in their name. When the cops show up, that freshly printed utility statement acts like a magical shield against arrest. Officers view it as proof of residency and walk away. A $40 utility deposit literally buys temporary ownership of a $500,000 home. 3. Turning off your own utilities is heavily penalized. If you find a squatter using your electricity and try to cut the power to force them out, you are the one breaking the law. Courts consider this a self-help eviction, which is strictly illegal almost everywhere. The squatter can actually turn around and sue you for massive financial damages, claiming you created an uninhabitable living environment. You are legally mandated to keep the lights on and the water running for the exact same person who is actively robbing you of your own valuable real estate. 4. Freezing temperatures bring out a special kind of property nightmare in places like Seattle. City ordinances ban winter evictions between December and February to keep vulnerable renters off the streets. Naturally, opportunistic squatters use this seasonal rule as body armor. Break into an empty house the week of Thanksgiving, and you are guaranteed a cozy, rent-free holiday season without any threat of removal. You get to watch them treat your private living room like a ski resort lodge while you cover the expensive heating bill. 5. Extortion has become a standard real estate strategy under the guise of cash for keys. The court backlog is so severe that landlords regularly pay intruders thousands of dollars just to walk away without smashing the drywall. Filing a lawsuit, paying lawyer fees, and waiting 18 months is far more expensive than simply bribing the trespasser. Property owners are forced to swallow their pride and hand out envelopes of money to criminals. Are we really tolerating a system that demands a ransom payment to access your own property? 6. Fixing a broken window can actually help someone steal your property. Many adverse possession laws require the squatter to improve or maintain the land. If an intruder mows your overgrown lawn, paints a fence, or patches a leaky roof, they are legally establishing a strong claim of ownership. A judge will look at the receipts for a few cheap gallons of paint and consider it solid proof that they care for the property better than you do. You lose your massive real estate investment simply because a criminal decided to do some unapproved weekend yard work. 7. Mother Nature acts as a personal defense attorney for trespassers in Washington, D.C. A judge can sign an eviction order, and the U.S. Marshals can be parked outside. But if the forecast calls for rain, the operation is canceled. The city forbids removing occupants during precipitation. Squatters obsessively watch the morning weather reports, knowing that a light afternoon drizzle guarantees them another day of free housing. Imagine holding a legal mandate to reclaim your house, only to be defeated by a passing 50% chance of showers. 8. 10 cents of printer ink is powerful enough to stall a police investigation. Professional squatters download generic lease agreements from the internet, sign a fake name, and hand them to responding officers. Cops are not handwriting experts, so they cannot disprove the signature on the porch. The moment that piece of paper appears, a clear break-in turns into a complicated civil dispute. The officers will pack up and tell you to hire a lawyer, leaving the intruder with months of free shelter thanks to a basic arts and crafts project. 9. Winning the long court battle does not mean the headache stops. States like Oregon saddle property owners with the responsibility of storing a squatter's abandoned junk. After kicking them out, you cannot just toss their broken furniture or trash bags into a dumpster. The law requires you to safely hold on to their belongings and provide written notice before disposal. Throwing away the garbage left behind by a trespasser opens you up to a lawsuit for property damage. The victim is somehow drafted into being a free public storage unit. 10. The sovereign citizen defense takes squatting to a theatrical new level. These intruders flood local courthouses with hundreds of pages of legal-sounding nonsense, claiming the land belongs to them based on maritime law or an 18th century treaty. Judges and clerks know it is pure fiction, yet the bureaucratic machine forces them to formally process and review every single bizarre motion. 11. A standard mailbox is a surprisingly dangerous vulnerability. If a trespasser submits a simple change of address form to the post office and starts receiving daily mail at your doorstep, the courts will absolutely take notice. Judges frequently use a massive pile of Amazon packages and pre-approved credit card offers as undeniable evidence of established residency. The police arrive, see a thick stack of envelopes with the intruder's name proudly printed on them, and back off entirely. 12. Filing for bankruptcy is a well-known financial tool, but clever squatters use it as the ultimate eviction pause button. The exact moment an illegal occupant files for Chapter 7, an automatic stay is placed on all legal proceedings against them, including your eviction hearings. The federal bankruptcy court essentially freezes everything. You are forced to hire a highly specialized lawyer just to beg a federal judge for permission to continue your state-level eviction. This adds months of brutal delays and thousands in fees, while the trespasser lives completely rent-free. 13. Entering your own property without proper notice can completely ruin your entire eviction case. Once a squatter establishes basic tenancy, the law inexplicably grants them a strict right to privacy. If the real owner furiously barges through the front door to yell at the intruder, the squatter can call the police and have the owner cited for harassment and illegal entry. You are legally required to give 24 hours of written notice before stepping foot inside the exact same living room that you currently hold the expensive monthly mortgage on. 14. Subletting a stolen house is a highly profitable black market business. A professional squatter will break into a vacant home, change the locks, and immediately list it on Craigslist as a cheap rental. Unsuspecting families pay them the first month's rent and a massive security deposit. When you finally discover the scheme, you cannot just kick out the new family because they technically entered a lease in good faith. You now have to legally evict a victim of fraud who genuinely thinks you are just a greedy corporate landlord trying to ruin their life. 15. Paying someone else's taxes might sound generous, but in California, it is a highly effective weapon. The state has an adverse possession timeline of just 5 years. A squatter who occupies a vacant mountain cabin and manages to cover the annual property tax bill for that duration can petition the court for the official deed. 5 years is nothing when dealing with inherited estates or remote vacation properties. The government will hand a stranger your home against your will, provided they slip the county a few tax installments. 16. Holiday weekends offer the perfect cover for a hostile takeover. Trespassers specifically target Friday afternoons before long holiday weekends to move their dirty furniture into a target home. By the time the neighbors notice and call the police, the local civil courts are completely shut down until Tuesday morning. That gives the intruders 4 uninterrupted days to establish residency, change the utilities, and print fake leases. They know the complex bureaucratic clock infinitely better than most practicing attorneys, turning public holidays into a nightmare. 17. An overnight booking app reservation can easily turn into a multi-year hostage situation. Some popular platforms allow guests to book a room for several weeks at a time. In places like California, staying past the 30-day mark automatically grants them full ironclad tenant rights. The app stops charging their credit card, but the law strictly prevents you from kicking them out. Would you ever dare to rent out your spare guest bedroom if you knew a single bad booking could realistically cost you control over your entire house for the next 2 years? 18. Hoarding absolute trash is a highly legitimate and disgusting defense strategy. When an eviction date finally approaches, some unhinged occupants fill the property to the ceiling with rotting garbage, broken appliances, and hazardous waste. Movers and sheriff deputies will frequently refuse to clear the house if it poses a severe health and safety risk to their teams. The legal eviction is indefinitely delayed until a specialized hazmat cleaning crew can be hired at the property owner's massive personal expense. They weaponize their own filth to stall the courts. 19. Claiming a fake familial relationship works wonders for stalling the police. When cops arrive at a property dispute, the squatter might smoothly claim to be your estranged nephew or a bitter ex-partner settling a messy breakup. Officers strongly dislike getting heavily involved in dramatic domestic squabbles. Instead of investigating the break-in, they classify it as a family civil matter and walk away. A complete stranger just has to pretend they know you intimately to avoid handcuffs and stay comfortably sleeping on your expensive living room couch. 20. Some progressive cities require landlords to pay relocation assistance to tenants being evicted through no fault of their own. Clever squatters have weaponized this by establishing tenancy through a fake lease, then demanding a massive cash payout when the real owner tries to reclaim the space. To avoid a drawn-out court battle, owners end up paying thousands of dollars to help the intruder rent a moving truck and secure a new apartment. They are essentially getting a lucrative corporate severance package just for aggressively trespassing on private property. 21. Claiming domestic violence is a despicable but highly effective legal shield. A squatter will break in, figure out the exact name of the actual property owner, and quickly file a completely baseless restraining order against them. If the court grants a temporary order, the rightful owner is legally barred from coming anywhere near their own house. The criminal successfully weaponizes the justice system to keep the victim entirely off the premises while they figure out their next move. Can you even fathom being legally banned from parking in your own driveway? 22. Bringing a pet into the stolen house adds an entirely new layer of bureaucratic red tape. Even if you manage to secure an eviction order, law enforcement often refuses to physically remove a squatter if there is a dog or cat inside until animal control arrives. If the local shelter happens to be closed or severely understaffed, the eviction is indefinitely postponed. A cheap goldfish or a stray street cat effectively acts as a biological pause button on the entire legal system, leaving you entirely powerless while a mutt guards your stolen front door. 23. Professional intruders use a legitimate locksmith to do their dirty work and secure instant legal cover. They call a 24-hour locksmith, claim they are locked out of their own house, and pay to have your deadbolts drilled and replaced. When the police eventually show up, the squatter confidently presents the official locksmith receipt as proof of residency. Law enforcement sees a professional invoice and assumes no criminal would pay for a licensed service. They essentially use a tiny service fee to legally legitimize a hostile home invasion. 24. Texas allows people to claim up to 160 acres of land through a terrifying document called an affidavit of adverse possession. You simply walk into the county clerk's office, pay a tiny filing fee, and swear on paper that you occupy a specific plot of vacant land. Clerks absolutely do not verify the claim. They just file it right into the public record. Suddenly, a total stranger has a government-stamped document pointing directly to your family ranch. How is it perfectly legal to steal a massive working farm just by filling out a glorified suggestion slip at the courthouse? 25. A squatter can set up a fake religious organization to claim tax exemptions and instantly muddy the legal waters. By throwing a few cheap folding chairs in the living room and printing a basic banner, they loudly declare the stolen house a sacred place of worship. Evicting a church looks absolutely terrible on paper and requires navigating completely different zoning and complex religious freedom laws. They use the First Amendment as an impenetrable legal smokescreen to completely hide their blatant real estate theft from the frustrated local authorities. 26. Real estate agents hosting open houses are unknowingly inviting absolute disaster. Professional squatters attend weekend viewings, silently unlock a hidden side window, and return later that night. Since there are absolutely no signs of forced entry, police are extremely hesitant to treat it as a violent burglary. The intruders then confidently claim they made a verbal agreement with the agent and handed over cash. The very marketing event designed to sell your beautiful house becomes the exact mechanism that loses it. Are open houses even worth the huge risk? 27. The burden of proof always falls incredibly heavily on the legal victim. A squatter does not actually have to prove they definitively own the home. They only have to create enough reasonable doubt that a responding officer cannot make a quick call. They might show a fake email chain or a heavily doctored text message from someone pretending to be the landlord. That tiny shred of manufactured doubt is all it takes to shift the entire burden from swift criminal law to a remarkably slow, agonizing civil court process that will relentlessly drain your bank account dry. 28. Thieves do not just want to sleep in your bed, they want to sell everything you own. A highly organized squatter will break into a furnished vacation home, quickly change the exterior locks, and immediately host a massive weekend estate sale. They confidently invite the entire neighborhood inside to buy your televisions, antique furniture, and family heirlooms at deep discounts. By the time you realize your property was hijacked, your house is completely empty and the criminal is gone. They effectively use the public to legally empty your living room. 29. In Georgia, an archaic law allows someone to halt a removal simply by filing a basic counter-affidavit. When an owner files a formal intruder's warrant, the squatter can block it by swearing under oath that they have a legal right to be there. This single flimsy piece of paper immediately stops the swift eviction process dead in its tracks and forces the case into a standard, deeply backlogged jury trial. One ridiculous lie on a basic legal form buys them countless months of free accommodation while you patiently wait for a court date that feels years away. 30. Look closely at your windows before you leave for a long weekend trip. The legal definition of breaking and entering usually requires actual physical force. If an intruder casually slips through an unlocked bathroom window or an open sliding patio door, they completely bypass the breaking part of the criminal statute. Because there is absolutely no shattered glass or splintered wood to heavily prove a violent entry, prosecutors often refuse to press burglary charges. Your simple forgetfulness completely shields the trespasser from any serious jail time. 31. Squatters often use children as ultimate bureaucratic human shields. If a trespasser breaks in with a toddler, the eviction process immediately triggers extreme child protective protocols. Judges are heavily reluctant to toss a family with infants onto the street, even if they are blatantly stealing your property. The legal system forces you to subsidize a criminal's childcare by providing them a free house. Should a property owner really be held legally responsible for housing a stranger's family just because they slipped through an unlocked back door? 32. Declaring your stolen house a fake historical landmark is a shockingly brilliant delay tactic. A squatter will file absolutely bogus paperwork claiming your modern suburban home holds hidden historical significance or buried artifacts. Even though it is a complete fabrication, the local historical society and city planners must formally investigate the claim before any eviction can proceed. They weaponize local preservation laws to freeze all court actions completely. Who knew faking an impromptu museum could be the ultimate real estate heist strategy? 33. Calling the health department on the actual owner is a deliciously evil form of legal sabotage. Once entrenched, squatters will intentionally create water damage and call city inspectors to report black mold. The city then issues massive fines to you, the rightful owner, for maintaining unsafe living conditions. You are literally being fined for the destruction caused by the person robbing you. How completely insane is it that the government penalizes the victim while allowing the trespassing vandal to continue living rent-free in your ruined house? 34. Lingering pandemic-era eviction moratoriums are still causing massive legal hangovers. While the global crisis is largely over, several local municipalities have permanent legal loopholes left over from emergency health orders. Squatters simply claim a vague medical hardship or financial distress tied to a recent illness, and heavily sympathetic judges will postpone the removal hearing indefinitely. They use outdated public health policies as a permanent invisibility cloak against law enforcement. 35. Buying a cheap farm animal can instantly upgrade a squatter's legal protection. By throwing a single pig or a few noisy chickens into your fenced backyard, intruders trigger highly specific agricultural and livestock laws. You cannot just lock them out without formally addressing the welfare of these random farm animals. Animal rights regulations clash directly with basic property rights, creating a massive jurisdictional nightmare. A $15 rooster from a local farm essentially becomes the ultimate security guard against the county sheriff and eviction. 36. There is actually a thriving underground consulting industry for professional squatters. You can find detailed online forums and dark web guides where experienced intruders sell step-by-step handbooks on exactly how to hijack a home. They share the specific names of lenient judges, the exact fake lease templates that fool local cops, and scripts for stalling court dates. It is a highly organized criminal syndicate operating right out in the open. Imagine losing your retirement home because a trespasser watched a viral tutorial on how to exploit the law. 37. Demanding extreme disability accommodations is a brilliant way to torture a property owner. A squatter will drag a wheelchair into the stolen property and file a massive federal complaint claiming your home is not ADA compliant. Suddenly, you are not just fighting an eviction, you are defending yourself against federal discrimination charges. The trespasser uses the Americans with Disabilities Act to bury you in astronomical legal paperwork. Does it make any logical sense that a burglar can sue you for not having a proper wheelchair ramp at the scene of the crime? 38. The fake Craigslist purchase defense forces you into an endless game of legal whack-a-mole. The squatter claims they handed $10,000 in cash to a mysterious man who claimed to be you. They proudly present entirely fake text messages and a worthless handwritten receipt. The judge, wanting to be completely fair to a potential scam victim, halts the eviction to allow a full police investigation into this phantom scammer. The criminal invents a completely fictional third party just to maliciously drag the eviction out for another 12 agonizing months. 39. Natural disasters provide the absolute perfect smokescreen for an organized property takeover. When entire neighborhoods evacuate for a hurricane or major wildfire, squatters sneak into the empty, undamaged houses. Because local courts and police stations are completely overwhelmed with actual emergency rescue operations, no one cares about a trespassing complaint. By the time the city government resumes normal operations, the squatter has already passed the 30-day mark. They exploit a massive regional tragedy to secure a free vacation home. 40. Paying a monthly homeowners association fee is a sneaky backdoor to claiming legitimate residency. A squatter will figure out the local HOA dues, send in a small check, and get a receipt. When the police arrive, they wave that HOA receipt around as absolute proof that they are an integrated part of the local community. The court sees a paying community member rather than a blatant trespasser. It is incredibly ironic that the same aggressive neighborhood association that fines you for tall grass will accidentally help a criminal steal your entire property. 41. A fabricated romance acts as a deeply uncomfortable but highly effective stalling tactic. In states that recognize common law marriages, a squatter might forge fake love letters or doctored photos to claim you were secretly romantically involved. They argue the property is a shared marital asset, turning a straightforward break-in into a messy pseudo-divorce. The legal system takes these fake claims seriously, requiring depositions and family court hearings. Do you really want to prove in court that you never dated the maniac sleeping on your sofa? 42. Clever intruders know how to use environmental protection laws as a masterclass in bureaucratic evil. A hyper-intelligent squatter will intentionally plant an endangered species of flower or release a protected toad in your overgrown backyard. If you try to hire a crew to clear the property or force an eviction, they tip off the Environmental Protection Agency. Federal agents will literally halt all activity to protect a completely random frog. The squatter uses conservation rules to legally barricade themselves inside while you face massive ecological fines. 43. The absolute boldest move in the playbook is accusing the actual owner of trespassing. An entrenched squatter armed with forged deeds will call the police the second you step onto the lawn, loudly claiming you are a dangerous stalker. Because they possess the keys, have the utilities in their name, and have mail on the table, the officers genuinely believe their crazy story. You, the legal title holder, are forcefully escorted off your own property in shiny metal handcuffs. Can you fathom the sheer humiliation of being arrested for breaking into your own home? 44. Live-in domestic workers hold a terrifying amount of legal leverage over employers. If you hire a private caretaker or an au pair and provide them with a bedroom, you are bound by strict housing laws. Should you fire them for terrible performance, you cannot demand they leave the premises immediately. They are legally entitled to a lengthy formal notice period, regardless of why they were terminated. You are literally forced to sleep under the exact same roof as an angry, recently fired employee who has zero incentive to respect your expensive property. 45. Political asylum is an absolutely insane but real tactic used right inside your stolen living room. Squatters sometimes partner with obscure activist groups, declaring your vacant property an autonomous, safe zone for marginalized individuals. They turn a basic property theft into a massive constitutional protest, attracting local media and sympathetic politicians. Police become terrified of the bad PR and completely refuse to intervene without a specialized court order. Your private investment suddenly becomes the unwilling stage for a wild political circus. 46. Courts operate heavily on rigid schedules, and squatters exploit this mercilessly. When you finally serve an intruder with eviction papers, they will file a completely nonsense response at the last possible second. If your lawyer misses a tiny deadline, or you fail to show up to a minor procedural hearing, because of a scheduling error, the judge can issue a default judgment in favor of the trespasser. One tiny clerical mistake on your end means the criminal gets to stay in your house. The justice system demands absolute perfection from the victim alone. 47. A civil lawsuit for emotional distress sounds like a hilarious joke, but it works flawlessly for squatters. When you inevitably lose your temper and yell at the person who stole your house, they immediately file a massive lawsuit for psychological trauma and harassment. They use this pending lawsuit as supreme leverage, offering to drop the ridiculous charges only if you officially sign over a legitimate one-year lease. The justice system allows a criminal to hold you legally hostage just because you raised your voice at the person ruining your entire life. 48. That fake corporate LLC registered at your address changes the entire legal classification of the eviction. The squatter gets a cheap business license and claims they operate a critical home-based enterprise. Evicting a commercial business requires entirely different, significantly more complex legal paperwork than removing a standard residential tenant. They exploit commercial real estate protections to artificially inflate the timeline and cost of the removal process. Who knew starting a completely fake bakery in your stolen kitchen was the ultimate legal defense? 49. Stolen valor invokes powerful federal protections when a squatter falsely claims active duty military status. The trespasser presents a doctored military ID, triggering the Service Members Civil Relief Act, which strictly prohibits evicting deployed soldiers. Even if the document is an obvious fake, the local judge must halt all proceedings until the Pentagon officially verifies the service record. This creates massive bureaucratic delays involving federal agencies. Is it not absolutely disgusting that someone would blatantly steal valor just to score free rent? All right, we have covered 49 mind-boggling laws, and there is only one final entry left. Before we reveal number 50, it is time for the final verdict. The award for the absolute dumbest rule today goes to number 18, the hazardous trash defense. The fact that a trespasser can indefinitely pause a legal eviction simply by turning your living room into a toxic garbage dump is completely absurd. Do you agree with this verdict, or did a different insane rule earn that dishonorable title? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And now, our final number. 51. The ultimate boss move of professional squatting involves securing a massive fraudulent mortgage on your stolen property. An elite squatter uses heavily forged deeds to quietly secure a lucrative hard money loan against your house. They pocket hundreds of thousands of dollars in raw cash and simply vanish into the night. You are completely left behind to fight a massive banking institution that now legally claims a strict lien on your family home. The legal system allowed a total stranger to use your house as an ATM and handed you the catastrophic bill. Homeownership is supposed to be the ultimate American dream, but these legal loopholes turn it into a high-stakes gamble. The law somehow acts as a bulletproof vest for literal trespassers while punishing the innocent. If the government utterly refuses to protect your most valuable financial asset, who is actually responsible for defending your own home? Sound off in the comments below, hit that subscribe button for more mind-bending laws, and stay safe.